Welcome to the final segment in the Chapter 34 from the Campbell Biology, The Origin and Evolution of Vertebrates. This segment focuses on the primates. So if we take a look at the tree, if you remember from the mammals segment, that we discussed the two basal groups of mammals, which include the monotremes and the marsupials. So just kind of a little background. Remember the monotremes, again, mammals possess a mammary glands, and the monotremes are interesting that they possess mammary glands. However, they don't have nipples, but they do have glands, the glands, right, which produce milk. So their young are going to basically feed off of their belly area where the glands are, but not using nipples. It'll be mainly their hair. And then the marsupials have nipples, but they have pouches where the young are going to develop fully develop outside of the body. So the marsupials have placentas. The monotremes actually lay eggs. Now the eutherians also have placentas, and this is the group that's really called the placental animals, and includes most of the mammals. And this particular segment will be focusing Now, living primates are divided into three main groups, which is basically what I described. We have one group which includes the lemurs, lorises, and the bush babies. The second group is the tarsiers. And the third group is the anthropoids, which include the monkeys and the apes. Now let's look at the So here we have the ancestral primate, which is thought to have arisen probably about 60,000 years, 60 million years ago. And the first to diverge, so these are the basal groups, which is going to be the include the group that includes the lemurs, lorises, and bush babies. Then next to diverge soon after that is the tarsiers, and the tarsiers diverge from the anthropoids. So you can see anthropoids. The anthropoids include the monkeys, and this is the ape group right here. The ape group starts with the gibbons and goes all the way to humans. Okay, so you can see humans and chimps and bonobos seem to have diverged probably about 7 million years ago. 6 to 7 million years ago. And again, this just kind of reiterates that the anthropoids include the monkeys and okay, so these are some examples of New World monkeys and Old World monkeys. So New World would include the spider monkey and the macaque, and the New World monkeys were diverged first, even though you would think the Old World monkeys would have diverged first, but the New World monkeys diverged from the group which eventually divided into the Old World monkeys and the apes. Most of the New World monkeys and the Old World monkeys are arboreal, so they live in trees. So again, all of these underwent separate adaptive radiations during all of these many years of separation. So you can see here we've got between New World monkeys and the humans, this was probably about 35 million years of divergence. Now, the gibbons, the orangutans, the gorillas, the chimps and bonobos, and the humans all belong to one formal group called the apes. So this shows images of all the groups of apes, and again, the apes, as I mentioned when we were looking at the tree, diverged from the old world monkeys about 25 to 30 million years ago. The only thing missing here is a picture of humans. All right, let's talk about humans then. So humans are also mammals, and they have a large brain and bipedal locomotion. The species Homo sapiens, which is really modern humans, is only about 200,000 years old. So our species has only existed on Earth for only about 200,000 years. That's really young compared to all of the other organisms that have survived. There are a number of characters that distinguish humans from the other apes and, of course, the other primates as well. They have upright posture and bipedal locomotion. Bipedal locomotion is meaning that they do not use all fours, their arms and legs, to walk or move around. Use only two legs. They have much larger brains which are capable of language, symbolic thought, artistic expression, and the manufacture and use of complex tools. The jaw bones are very reduced, as well as the jaw muscles. And there's a much shorter digestive tract in humans. Now, there are a couple misconceptions associated with humans and human evolution. One of them is that early hominids were chimpanzees. Well, I already mentioned that, and some of you may already know this, right? The correction for that is that hominids and chimpanzees, they shared a common ancestor, so they are sister groups. They only shared a common ancestor. The common ancestor diverged, and basically chimpanzees and early hominids diverged from each other. The next misconception is human evolution is like a ladder leading directly to Homo sapiens. That is not the case. What the correction is that hominin evolution included many branches or coexisting species, though only humans survive today, which would be modern humans, the modern Homo sapiens. Now let's take a look at the phylogeny of the hominins and their ancestors. So paleoanthropology is the study of human origins, and it's scientists in this group of study which have made a lot of these discoveries. Hominins were formerly called the hominids, are more closely related to humans than to the chimpanzees. Okay, so these are all the hominins. They are much more closer related than the chimpanzees. But interestingly enough, the human and the chimpanzee genomes are 99% identical. So, and there are some differences in the numbers. I think there are some numbers that are a bit lower than that, maybe 96 to 97. But ultimately, that's quite a bit of the genome. But when you think of how large the genome is, there's still a lot that can be different. Most of the differences are changes in the regulatory genes that can have very large effects, right? So regulatory, how the genes are regulated. So if we take a look here, we've got Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis. So these two lived at the same time, and so did Homo erectus, it appears. So some of these lived at the same time, and it's thought that they did, well, there's actually evidence that they did mate with one another. So paleoanthropologists have discovered fossils from about 20 different species of extinct hominins, but only 15 of them are shown here. Okay, so all of these blue ones are those that are highlighted in blue are extinct, and then there's us, Homo sapiens. Differences between the sexes, so there isn't much sexual dimorphism seen in earlier groups. Australopiths are all paraphyletic. So these are the paraphyletic group, and you can see it's paraphyletic because there are some that existed around that are very similar to one another, but they aren't Australopiths. Some of them walked fully erect. Now, some of them were considered what's called robust, and some of them were gracile. So the robust Australopiths had sturdy skulls and powerful jaws. The more gracile ones were more slender and had lighter jaws. Both bipedalism and complex tool use and making complex tools are key characteristics of the more modern day or the more derived hominins. Hominins began to walk long distances on two legs about 1.9 million years ago. So this occurred before modern humans existed. Bipedal walking was energy efficient in the arid environments. Tool use. Now, in terms of that, the oldest evidence of tool use is basically cut marks on animal bones, and this is visual on specimens that are 2.5 million years old. Fossil evidence indicates tool use may have originated prior to the evolution of large brains. And it's thought that the chimpanzees used rocks as tools. All right, so looking at this phylogeny again, we have early Homos species. So early Homo species, there's evidence that there were tools made of stone with the Homo habilis. So this is what actually gave it its name, right? So Homo habilis means handyman. Now, Homo ergaster fossils were previously assigned Homo erectus. Most paleoanthropologists now recognize these two species as separate. So we have Homo ergaster and Homo erectus. Early Homo ergaster, was first fully bipedal. Okay, so this is where bipedalism is thought to be fully present. And it has a large brain, so you can see the skull, very large brain here. There's a significant decrease in the sexual dimorphism at this point right here. So this means that there are different sizes between the sexes. Homo erectus was the first hominin to leave Africa, as evidence suggests. And this is typically done by DNA sequencing of mitochondrial DNA, tracing the maternal side, and combining it with the paternal on the Y chromosome. Early homos, right, Homo neanderthal, the Neanderthals, so these were thick-boned, and they had a larger brain. They actually buried their dead, and they made tools for hunting. So as I mentioned already, there's evidence that there was gene flow that occurred between the Neanderthals and the modern humans. Now, early Homo, here's an example of an early Homo sapien skull. This is thought to be about 160,000-year-old fossil. So all living humans are thought to have descended from African ancestors. So this was found in Africa, and it's thought that Homo sapiens originated in Africa. Humans first arrived in the New World sometime before 15,000 years ago, so only within the first 15,000 years. In 2004, there was an 18,000-year-old fossil that was found in Indonesia. And this is actually a new hominin, so they discovered a new species called Homo floresiensis. So new species are found all the time. It's thought that Homo sapiens were the first group to show evidence of symbolic and sophisticated thought. So you can see here, this shows something found in 2002. It's actually an artistic carving, and it was found in South Africa.